Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast, where positive parenting meets well-being. Welcome to today's episode of the Positively Healthy Mom. I'm your host, Laura Ollinger, teen and parent well-being coach and founder of Positively Healthy Coaching and the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. Sorry, mouthful there. So today I'm excited to introduce you to Simone Knego. Simone, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here. So I'm from Sarasota, Florida. I am a mom of six. I've been married to my husband for 32 years, and I'm a keynote speaker, author, and podcast host. And I really I'm also a coach. I'm a life coach that really focuses on helping women build confidence, something I struggled with for a very long time. I thought confidence was something other people had, and I just didn't. I didn't understand that it was a skill. And like every other skill we have, we build it, and we build it from the inside out. So that's really been my focus is to help other women build confidence and see what they're capable of. And the reason I host the podcast with my 22-year-old daughter is I wanted her to get there quicker. So it's called Her Unshakeable Confidence because helping her build unshakable confidence, which has been an amazing experience. But, we talk about things that my parents never talked about with me. And so I've learned so much not that I learn from all of my kids every single day, but really seeing her in the podcast environment where we have guests on and she sees things differently than I do. And so it makes for really great conversations.
I bet I can imagine if I hosted with my daughter that we would have very, interesting, unique perspectives for sure. So, oh my gosh, six kids, by the way, that's amazing. What are their age ranges?
So they range from 18 to 29. So I'm almost an empty nester, potentially could be an empty nester next year. So, which is exciting and sad at the same time. And I think a lot of the work I do now is I started before they left because I knew that it was going to be really hard once they were all out of the house. Like, what do I do now? And so that was really important for me to kind of have something in play that I really wanted for myself.
Yeah. So this conversation is very multifaceted because we
Mm.
might be hitting moms who are close to that stage. We might be hitting moms who are early in this, cycle of life or circle of life, but yet they might need to help themselves with confidence or help their teenagers or daughters with confidence. So I think this is going to be a great conversation today. So tell me, like, how is it that you knew that confidence was kind of like your specialty topic that you got into?
Mm. I don't think I knew. I think what happened was I had struggled with self-doubt for so long, really starting with an abusive relationship in high school that kind of took me down this path of putting up this facade that thinking that I always had to be strong, I always had to be a certain way. But behind the scenes, I felt like everything was crumbling. I never felt like I was good enough. And so what I realized was that I needed to do something out of my comfort zone. And that was like the Kilimanjaro story, which I'm sure we can talk about that. But I needed to believe in myself. And I don't know if I did when I was younger or not. I just don't remember. And so, really, the steps that I took to get there is what made me realize, wow, this is something that needs to be taught. This is something that I want to focus on to help other women because we do get stuck in that cycle of thinking that we're not enough and that everybody else is doing a better job than we are and everybody else is doing a better job with their kids, but it's not true. Like we all struggle. And for me, it was just important that now that I realized how much I struggled and how I was able to move forward to help other women do that as well.
Yeah. So it's amazing because you're just, impacting lives, but from so many perspectives. So how has this impacted your kids
Mm.
now that you've been doing all this work?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how different they respond to situations. And they're, I've really made it a point that of teaching them how important it is to self-advocate. Use your voice when you see something, say something. And instead of just saying, oh, wait, I'm not strong enough to do that. That's not true. You're capable of anything you want. You have to want it, but you're capable. And I see them like, first of all, becoming really good humans, which is the ultimate goal, but also how they interact with other people. When we talk about the podcast, so Olivia is a second year in law school and they get called on all the time in class and they have to stand up and present. And she said that has really helped her be able to just think on her feet and,
Mm.
you know, because you don't know what someone's going to ask you at any moment. So that's been really good for her. And I look at all of my kids and think that they've seen me do things that kind of have changed them in a way. So, for example, climbing Kilimanjaro in 2015, I had a lot of people say to me, "Oh, don't you think it's really selfish that you're going to leave your kids at home while you go climb a mountain?" No, yeah. No, self-care is not selfish.
Hmm.
And more importantly, I think it's so important for all of us, for our kids to see that you are capable of whatever you want to do if you put in the work. So I'd rather them say, wow, mom has done all these cool things. I can too, instead of like, oh, mom never tried anything. I guess I shouldn't try these things. And just
Mm.
like what you were saying earlier about like how what we model for our kids, right? What do I want my kids to see? I want them to see that they can do it. They don't have to do it all. They have to do what they want.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So, what is your formula for coaching or helping anyone build confidence?
So I have a method called the real method, which
Hmm.
is respect yourself, embrace your failures, ask yourself what you want, and live without limits.
Hmm.
And the reason I start with respect yourself is because it's something that when I was a kid, I was taught to respect my elders, my peers, right? Teachers, grandparents, all of the above. But never once do I remember being taught that the most important person to respect is myself. The
Hmm.
idea of setting boundaries, saying yes to the things that serve you and no to the things that don't. And
Hmm.
really, I think especially for kids these days, being able to say no to things. I mean, it's really important that they learn that at a young age. Not, okay, they have to say yes to me all the time because I'm the mom, but I mean, in life in general,
Hmm.
but we don't really teach that. I mean, some people do. I was never taught that. Um, the next part is embrace your failures. So just because we failed at something doesn't mean we're a failure. It means that it just didn't work in this moment. And so often we're afraid to keep trying or we're afraid to rock the boat because what if we fail, right? I call it the what if whisperer. What if you fail? What if they judge you? And
Hmm.
it's so important that we don't listen to the what if whisperer. The next part is ask yourself what you want, and especially moms with kids, especially as kids are moving out of the house, and we've spent so much time taking care of everybody else that sometimes we've lost ourselves and we don't know what we want. Same thing about when you're at the stage where you're about to be an empty nester. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Some people say, you know what? I want to play pickleball, and that's amazing, right? But it's
Right.
figuring out for yourself what you want, and lots
Hmm.
lots of exercises for that. And then the last part is live without limits, because we limit ourselves from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, right? We tell ourselves that we're not capable, we're not good enough, we're just a stay-at-home mom, we're just so and so's wife. Drop the just, because all of these things are part of what makes us who we are. So be proud of being a stay-at-home mom, being a working mom. All of those different things are crucial.
Yeah, yeah, man, all those things like just resonated with me so much. The first part about respecting yourself, I find that a lot of my clients are teenage girls who are what we call like people pleasers.
Mm.
And so that just like, including, I call myself a recovered people pleaser, or recovering. I think you're technically always in recovering people pleaser. And so, what are your methods for helping kids? Whether or you work primarily with women, adult women, but anybody that you would come across, like how would you impart that knowledge?
Yeah, I was a people pleaser as well.
Hmm.
Again, I called myself the yes girl, but
Hmm.
one of the little tricks I use is I think everything is about mindset. So
Yeah,
it's a mindset hack that called Control Alt Delete. So back in the day, it was how you would restart your computer when it was
yeah, I love that.
frozen. And I use
Huh?
it for, sometimes our minds freeze too. So when we get stuck on that loop of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, so it's really the control piece is awareness, understanding that you have these negative thoughts and asking yourself questions like, are they real? Like, should I be believing them? The next part is alt, which is alternative. Tell yourself a better story. So instead of what if I fail? How about when I succeed? Or I can't. Can't means won't. So how about I can, right? So, and then the last part is delete. Delete the habits and beliefs that don't serve you. Delete the comparison game. Delete the belief that you're not enough. And I think when we do this on as a regular practice, we really do change the way we see ourselves.
Yes, yes. I'm imagining. So I met a young lady this summer who she would always drive her peers to whatever I can't remember what organization or activity they were going to, but she was the one that would always drive. Well, she confided in me that she didn't like having to wake up early and like drive the extra miles, and it cost her more gas money. And so I was kind of helping her shift her mindset about that, about what it means and how to kind of say no in that situation, because her big fear was, oh, they won't like me anymore.
Mhm.
They won't, it's embarrassing to like stand up for myself. So how like would that, your control alt delete like apply to that situation?
Yeah. So I think the question is the first part would be understanding that she's having these thoughts that if she says no to doing something, they're not going to be her friends anymore,
Mm-hmm.
or they're going to be upset at her. And like, is that real? Probably
Yeah.
not. She's never
Yeah.
asked them before. So, and then the way she phrases it, tell herself that they would share, right? If I say, hey, let's share this responsibility, let's do this together instead of me doing all the driving, like I would love for other people to step up as well. And it's really deleting that belief that they would just drop her because she wouldn't drive. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can use it for pretty much anything, but that really is about the thought process behind it. And then actually putting your words out there and saying, you know, it would be really great. I love going with you guys to these things, but it would really be really great if we could share the driving. Um, I think that would be really helpful for me.
Yes, yes, that's exactly. I was helping coach her through the language. And so I love kind of your version of that because it's taking the pressure off herself and kind of sharing that. And so how much do you see of that in moms? Because I know there's always the
Mm.
moms who take on more responsibility than the other moms. There's starting from elementary school, there's like the room moms who kind of do everything, and then they're trying to get volunteers and nobody signs up, and then you go through. And right now, so my kids, I have 3 in high school, 1 in middle school, and so I see a lot of that still happening because there's even less volunteers at the high school level. So there's just like literally 5 moms doing like the entire high school's worth of volunteer work. But then even when it comes to personal plans, so we just had homecoming for our kids, the homecoming dance, and there's like the few designated moms who like organize the dinner and the transportation and how the kids and then I see other moms who just like, barely even chime in on the text. And it's just really interesting to see kind of the disproportionate amount of the way the work is shared, but also you have to think of the ones that are doing it, what called them to step up to that leadership position in the first place? Like, did they do that? And so it's kind of interesting to see it from all perspectives. So what are your thoughts about all that?
Yeah. So when my oldest kids were little, I was that person. I would sign up for every single thing. I was the brownie mom. I was the Girl
Mhm.
Scout leader. Yeah, I did all the things. I would bring the donuts to school. And as the kids got older, what I realized was like, yeah, they like having me there, but there are other people that can help too. The crazy thing is now when the school puts out something to come help with something, usually before I can even get to the email, like all the slots are full. So there are plenty of moms who want to step up and do it. And you shouldn't feel bad if you don't do it, right? I say that to my
Mhm.
daughter. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be there. She's like, I'm going to see you in 15 minutes after. Like, what's the difference? It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we put so much pressure on ourselves to say, like, oh, we
Mhm.
have to be at all places for our kids all the time. And I could tell you with 6 kids, it was impossible to do. And there are plenty of
Mhm.
things that I missed. And the kids don't remember that at all. They remember like the fun vacations we had. And if I say, you remember that time I wasn't the room mom? Wait, no.
They're
You
like, what?
were you the room mom at some point? I was like, yes, I
Yeah.
was, So But it is interesting because we set ourselves up to say, oh, we have to do it all because that's going to give them the best childhood ever. But take a step back and say, like, who are you actually doing it for? Will your kid be fine if you're not at every single thing? And let the other mom step up as well. And some moms, like I
Hmm.
said, some moms just they don't want to. Like that, that's not their thing. I know when my kids were little, like some of the moms would volunteer in the front office, like answering phones and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I was like, that's not my thing. Like if I'm going to come
Yeah.
to school, I'm going to interact with the kids and then I'm going to go home. I'm not going to, but everybody has different things that they actually like to do.
Yes, totally. So how else can kind of your words of wisdom about confidence impact moms as far as really being kind of leaders for themselves and not just for their kids? Because sometimes what we forget is that we are other people besides just being mom. Like you
Hmm.
said, we're not just wife or mom, but like we are this whole other person. So how do you coach a woman who is kind of so defined by her roles that she has kind of forgotten or lost touch with who she really is?
Yeah. So one of the things I like to talk about is kitchen table leadership. So, we've been sold this narrow view that leadership is the person in the boardroom, the person with the title, and the decisions we make every day are leadership, right? The messy moments, the stuff that happens around the kitchen table. Those
Hmm.
are those are all really important things that really shape our world. So when there's plenty of moms that have a hard time separating themselves from who they thought they were, who they are now, where they want to be in the future. And I think self-care is a really big part of it, that
Yeah.
we have to take time for ourselves every single day, whatever it is, even if it's 15 minutes, to
Hmm.
remind yourself of who you are and all the things you want. Now, I'm not saying that, oh, if you're a stay-at-home mom, like you need reminded to say, oh, no, you need to be something different. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we it's important that we have things that we like to do beyond what happens in the house. And
Hmm.
so that idea of finding something you're passionate about, again, pickleball, volunteer work, part-time job, whatever it is, so that you feel good about yourself. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. There's I have plenty of friends that they love being home for all of it. They're amazing cooks. I'm better at takeout. And
Yeah.
they and and that's their focus. And that's fantastic. So I think it's really looking inside yourself and saying, am I happy with the way things are right now? And if so, like don't mess with it. But if you
Mm.
feel like there's something missing, then start
Hmm.
asking yourself those questions of like, what would make me really happy, right? What would change? And again, it's not about going to get a job, but what's something little you can do every day for yourself that would make you feel more fulfilled? But we don't
Mm.
usually give ourselves the time to ask those questions because we're like, oh no, we have to do everything for everybody else. My my mom is a prime example. So my mom was a physician. Sorry about that. My mom was a physician and she also cooked all of our meals. She made our clothes. She did all of the things. And I don't think that her working was her working. It wasn't something that she was doing for herself. She was doing it because she felt like she had to. Um, what she does for herself is reading. So she loves to read books. And she's 86 years old. She probably reads 4 books a week still. It's unbelievable how much she
Wow.
does. Yes.
That's a
But she's
avid reader.
constantly, yes, she's a constantly reading. But, it's something that's the one thing she chose that she wanted to really do for herself. And we all have
Mm.
something that we would like to do. And
Hmm.
we just need to give ourselves some space and some time.
Yeah, yeah, loving this. So, um, I'm curious if you have any, you know, wisdom that you can share from your keynote speeches, because a lot of times I know when I work on a keynote, there's some kind of like big takeaway or nugget that, I don't share, it's private, it's for the people who are listening, but is there anything you're willing to share from kind of the things that you speak about?
Um, yeah, I mean, I would say that I talk about very similar stuff in my keynote speeches.
Hmm.
I think for me, a lot of the important stuff is the stories that I share. For example, here's a good teenager moment. This was during COVID. So my youngest daughter and I went to Starbucks. So you couldn't go in, so you had to do the drive-through. So we're
Mhm.
waiting to actually get into the line. It was so packed. And so I was like 2 cars away from getting into the line. And all of a sudden, this red SUV just jumps in front of us. And I lost it. Like I totally lost it in the Starbucks drive-through. And that is not a typical behavior of mine. And my daughter looks over at me like I have snakes coming out of my head. And she's like,
Mhm.
you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. She's like, well, I think you might need to reread your own book. I think you've forgotten a few things about kindness and compassion and empathy. I was like, ooh, that was a hard one. And
Mm.
she said, you always say that you never know what someone else is going through. So have some patience, like practice what you preach. And I was like, oh, thank you so
Dagger,
much. My
dagger in the
yes,
heart there.
yes. And so it's that idea of, you know, it's that modeling matters more than managing. So it's not the do
Mm.
as I say, not as I do. It
Mhm.
is that they're watching all the things that we do. So, and of course, we get up to the drive through and the car that cut us off paid for our drinks. And so that led,
Oh,
yeah, so that led my daughter to say, can we pay for the car behind us? She wasn't like, I told you so. She
yeah.
was very much like, wow, okay, let's see the impact we can make with this one small move. And, then
Mm.
the conversation was like, how many cars do you think will continue paying it forward? And,
Yeah.
it's so the leadership piece is across the board, right? It doesn't matter
Mhm.
if you're the mom, if you're the child, leadership happens all of the time in the messy middle. And every decision you make is truly a leadership decision.
Yes, I'm glad that you said that because it's so true. We just don't always think of it like that.
Mm.
Do you have any stories of a time when you weren't very confident and you kind of acted maybe either out of character or maybe when you were younger before you kind of had built this confidence skill? And what would you say or do for yourself now that you have this information that you have?
Mm. So I was at this event and I was with a group of my friends, and they were talking about women peeling back the layers, really being authentic, showing your true self. And I knew that I had been hiding behind a facade for a really long time, pretending
Mm,
to be strong about things, never crying about things. And that's what people came to expect of me, that, oh, she's so strong, she's so tough. And but like I said, inside I was cracking. Like I thought that if I cried, that the whole thing would fall apart, right?
mm,
Eh, And so I'm at this event and they put on this video. It's Colby Calais, her video Try. And it really is about women taking off the makeup and just really being exactly who they are. And I started crying. And my friends were
mm.
like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Are you okay? I was like, no, I'm not okay. I'm like,
The dam finally
yeah,
broke.
it broke. I was like, I've been pretending for so long. Like, I have to
Wow.
just let it go. I never feel like I'm enough. I always feel like bad about my body. Like, I'm doing a horrible job with my kids, like all of these things. And the most
Mm,
interesting thing that happened was that one of the other women who I thought had the perfect life, she started sharing of all the things that she struggled with as well.
mm,
And then everybody started sharing. And I think that was like so important, that ripple effect of saying, wait, I'm not alone in this. Like this whole time, I thought everything that I was struggling with, nobody else struggled like I did, right? And it's so ridiculous for us to put that on ourselves. And that really taught me the importance of sharing things. And it was in that moment, like
mm,
I went back to when I was in high school, what I had mentioned before, that I had
mhm,
an abusive boyfriend. And I stuffed it down for so long. It was shame, it was guilt. My husband knew about it, my kids knew about it, but I really hadn't shared it openly with anybody else. And
mhm,
I remember the first time I shared it, actually, I shared it on a stage, and I had so many women come up to me and say they had a similar situation or their daughter was going
mm,
through something like that. And
Mm.
how that by me saying the truth, that they felt like they were able to share with me as well. So I think it's a really good reminder that when we're struggling with something, we need to say it out loud. I'm not saying for a lot of women, it's a very difficult thing, but depending on what you're struggling with, I think it's important when you have close friends to being able to say, wow, this is what's going on with me right now.
I think that is such a great message for all moms because, even with our friends, we don't always want to admit our vulnerabilities and, our weaknesses or what we're struggling with our kids. We kind of are just kind of programmed to have this really nice image that we look, like everything is great.
Hmm.
But that's such a lesson in like having the confidence and the courage to just be open, be vulnerable, share, because that invites then other people in to be able to share. And then that's where connection happens. So I bet that's just like such a great way to build on, those friendships that you had that after that, I bet it was just much, I guess more just, yeah, real and genuine. And then that way you can actually ask like, well, how can I support you with this? Right. Like then you get into the whole building of that true camaraderie as women that we all need and we desperately want as just to have that community.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is an interesting thing because I think we can say that we're really good friends, but if we're not really telling our our struggles and we're just showing the shiny moments, it means that we aren't, because I can show my shiny moments on social media to anybody, but
Right.
it's the things that I struggle with that's what I need the support for. I mean, I don't need someone to say, "Wow, you're doing a great job." I mean, compliments never hurt, but I don't need that
Yeah.
external validation. But what I do
Mm,
need is I need support when things aren't going the way I thought they were going to go. And to
yeah.
have that kind of team around you to really boost you when you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this.
Mm.
So important for all of us.
Yes, yes. This is awesome. So is there any last message that you might have for a mom who is just kind of like been struggling with this and like challenged with like how do I build my confidence? Like I know you gave us some great formulas, you
Mm.
gave us your model for how you, teach this and coach this, but any last words of wisdom?
Yeah, I would say positive affirmations are really important. The way you talk to yourself matters so much. And really, that you don't need to change who you are. You need to change the way you see yourself. We're all going to have tough moments with our kids. I mean, I'm going through it now with my 18-year-old and her applying to college and her thinking that she knows everything in the world, right? All of those things. But we just have to kind of let them do those certain things so that we can move forward. I mean, I can tell her all day long, but if I show her, I get a different result.
Mm, yes, yes. This is awesome. So where can people find you going forward?
So, best place to find me is my website, simoneknego.com, which is SIMONEKNEGO. Also, my new book, Real Confidence, A Simple Guide to Go from Unsure to Unshakable, comes out February 17th, and you can find that at realconfidencebook.com with all the little bonuses you get for pre-ordering.
Very
And I'm on
cool.
social media, so if you'll find me. I'm the only Simone Knego in the world, so uh
There you go.
yeah, it's pretty easy to, yeah. Even if you spell it wrong, I think you'll find me.
Okay. Well, you can be confident in who you are because you're the only you. So that's
Yes.
that's awesome. Okay. Well, we'll be sure to put that in the show notes with the links, and I'm excited about your book. So amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Simone.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it.